Everyone seems to be going nuts for the trailer of Ahsoka, the last one. The series premieres, I think, next week on Disney Plus. So I'm going to give my quick thoughts on the trailer. So the big thing is Anakin's appearance in the series. We know from if you watch the Clone Wars or some of Rebels or even some of the other appearances Ahsoka's made that Anakin Skywalker trained Ahsoka. And Ahsoka was one of the main characters in the Clone Wars. And really, that's where you really get to see her shine. And most people were introduced to Ahsoka in the Clone Wars show. Now, unfortunately, I understand that a lot of Star Wars fans never saw those shows. There's a lot of people out there who don't watch the animated Star Wars content because a lot of them are they just don't. I don't know if it's a lack of respect or they just assume that it's a kiddie show, which in some ways Clone Wars really was a kid show. I mean, it was on Disney XD. Like it was, I think it was Disney XD. I think. I don't remember. Maybe that was Rebels. Anyways, the point is, it is a kid's show, but it adds so much more context to the prequels. And if you are watching prequel era stuff, like the original prequel movies, the Clone Wars really does add context to it and sort of improve the story tenfold. You know, I don't think it fixes the problems that are in the movies necessarily, at least not all of them, but it does sort of fix the era. Now, in this trailer, we hear Anakin doing a voiceover where he's training Ahsoka, saying he'll always be with her and preparing her for this big battle between light and dark. This is, of course, before Anakin went to the dark side and Ahsoka left the Order. I think it was in season 6 of Clone Wars. It's been a while. 5 or 6. It was one of the ones near the end. But she left the Order, but she would make sporadic appearances coming back, you know, in Rebels and things of that nature. And now she gets her own show, live action with Rosario Dawson. So in this trailer, they show a lot of cool stuff, some cool lightsaber battles, some cool space stuff with the Rebels from Star Wars Rebels. Bottom line is, man, if you skip Clone Wars and Rebels, you might not be as satisfied and you won't have full context for these characters than if you didn't. So if you saw those shows, you're going to get rewarded with more Easter eggs and more of an understanding of what's happening in Ahsoka than you would if you didn't see it. So, you know, is it too late? I mean, the episodes are all up on Disney Plus. So if you want to go watch them and you have time, it's 7 seasons of Clone Wars, I think 4 for Rebels, and you get to know these characters. Ezra Bridger, you get to know Sabine, all of them, everyone. So in the trailer, you know, Anakin's talking to Ahsoka, and Ahsoka still has a lot of love for Anakin, and they had that strong bond. Now, one of the things that was rumored going all the way back to maybe 2020 or 2021, this was a while ago, was this talk that Ahsoka would talk to Force Ghost Anakin. I think a lot of people want to see Hayden Christensen come back as a Force Ghost to talk to Ahsoka. Now, will that be a great moment for the fans of the Clone Wars? Yes. Will that be a great moment for the fans of the prequel trilogy? I agree with that as well, seeing Anakin talk to her. Of course, then the question is, and I've said this many times on many videos, if Anakin knew how to manifest himself as a Force ghost, which we know that he could based on Return of the Jedi, if he knew how to do that, why did he not warn his daughter Leia about Snoke and the Emperor on Exegol? Since we know now that Vader knew, based on the comics, Darth Vader knew about Exegol. Anakin knew about Exegol. He actually had a trial there where he fought other cyborgs created by the Emperor. So why didn't he tell not just Leia? Why didn't he tell Luke? Why didn't he tell Han? Well, he didn't know Han, but he definitely knew Luke and Leia. Why didn't he come back as a Force ghost and tell Ahsoka? There's a lot of things that just don't add up. And maybe Filoni's figured out a way to make it all make sense. The big one to me that never made sense to me is if Palpatine was the one talking to Kylo Ren the entire time in the sequel trilogy inside of his head, you know, he was basically talking to him telepathically, but pretending to be Snoke and pretending to be Darth Vader. Why didn't the Force Ghost Anakin appear to Kylo Ren and tell him he's going down a dark path? Why did that not happen? Did the Emperor find out some kind of force, power, some evil force power to block him from doing it? These are the things I think about, man, because that doesn't make any sense to me. It doesn't make sense. Why can't he just, tell them what's going on? It seems pretty important, isn't it? I mean, right? The voiceover from Hayden Christensen is definitely from the prequel era because he says, in this war you'll face more than just droids, which is the Clone Wars. I mean, that droids were the enemies, but he's saying there's bigger threats out there, like Count Dooku or whatever. So it is not a new Anakin voiceover. Will he appear, though? That's been the rumor for a while. If it is a flashback, though, that's going to be cool to see. There's like a really badass fight in the trailer with Ahsoka fighting some kind of maybe Inquisitor type. I don't know what it is, a Dark Warrior with a double-bladed lightsaber. And that sounds like a pretty cool little fight. We did see Ahsoka fight Darth Maul in the season 7, the series finale, really, of Clone Wars. And I did do reviews on the channel for those episodes because, man, I loved those last 4 episodes. They took place at the same time as episode 3 and gave a lot of context for what happened to Ahsoka there, how Rex got involved in everything, what happened to Darth Maul. It was some of the best writing Filoni's ever done. And this Ahsoka show is Filoni's show. So of all the upcoming Star Wars shows, this is the one that I think has the biggest potential to do well, even more than Boba Fett. Boba Fett wound up sucking. We were all hyped for it for a while, though. But this show, with Filoni being in charge and him being able to tell a story but also weave lore into it, he's the grand lore master now behind George Lucas. That's what this franchise really needs, man, because I think people miss Star Wars' roots. I think the sequel trilogy took us in a whole different direction, didn't want to go, and I think we're still recovering from it. The sequel trilogy ended like 4 years ago, and we are still, Star Wars is still trying to recover from it. The Mandalorian helped, but people are still very much left with a bad taste in their mouth, man. I'm not lying about that. It is what it is. But Obi-Wan tried to kind of appeal to the hardcore fan, and it was kind of given with mixed results. But this show, they're staying away from the prequel era stuff as far as like it taking place there. This show takes place presumably after the stuff that happened in Book of Boba Fett and the stuff that happened in The Mandalorian. So we're right around that time period. And as we get closer and closer to Dave Filoni's Star Wars movie, which is rumored to have a lot of these characters from these shows, this show will be the next stepping stone. And we're going to see Grand Admiral Thrawn. And I have a feeling this show is going to go right into that movie. That's been the rumor for a long time. So let's hope that it does. What do you think about the newest trailer? Let me know, and I'll catch y'all later this week with more content.